Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is our last webinar of our series, kicking off Homes Tour 2022. So excited about this one. Thank you for coming to all of them. They've been wonderful. We will post the recordings to our website, aiaaustin.org and aiaaustinhomestour.com. Next week, so you can watch them all if you missed any. I'm Ingrid Spencer. I'm the executive director for AIA Austin, and I have here with me Dick Clark and Associates people and our moderator today, Christy Taylor. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors for the Homes Tour. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. Thank you to our underwriters for this particular house, and to our gold sponsors and to all the sponsors. Your support is incredibly appreciated. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Christy Taylor. Enjoy the webinar and see you this next weekend at the Homes Tour.
Thank you, Ingrid. I just wanted to reiterate the shout outs to all these amazing sponsors. Gold sponsorship, we have Ferguson and Scott and Cooner. Thank you guys so much. For underwriters, we have Kroll Builders, Relative Home Systems, and Urban Space Interiors. So again, thank you for your participation in making this home such a success. I could not be more excited to introduce to you Clara and Kevin, Clara Patterson and Kevin Gallagher with Dick Clark and Associates. So before I give it away to you guys, during the presentation at any point, if you have questions, attendees, you know the drill, please enter it into the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen here. We will reserve 10 or 15 minutes at the end for asking questions. So, all right, take it away.
All right, thank you, Christy. Welcome, everybody. My name is Clara Patterson, and this is Kevin Gallagher, and we are in the Vastu House today presenting. So thank you to AIA Austin. We're really looking forward to the Homes Tour. Absolute honor to be part of it. Very excited. Before we get into it, let me just thank the team is myself, Kevin, Matt, and Brandy from our office, and a big shout out to Kroll Builders who really helped make this happen.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, this is the Vastu House. This is a picture of our firm last spring in front of the house as we toured it when it was being completed. We are a full service design firm. We have 23 people right now, 3 interior designers. We've been around for 42 years.
Our design process is a very vertical, collaborative situation within our office. We have a system that we've developed through the years, and each project is a team involved in each project, and we have that team is composed of mix of experience and less experience, and it works very well for us. We've had a lot of people that have come and gone in the office through the years. A lot of firms in Austin are personnel that originally worked with our firm, but people come and go, but our system remains the same, and we've just as successful now, more so than we've ever been. So the system has endured.
Just put a few images up of some recently completed projects. We were downtown for forever, and we've just moved out to, well, just before the pandemic, we bought a pawn shop on 7th Street. So that's the picture in the bottom right corner. And then we have some residential images. But I'd say one of my favorite things about working here is just the range of projects and range of clients. One morning you might be laying out a hotel, and then in the afternoon you're working on a custom residential detail. So it's always something different. All right, let's get into it. I guess we didn't mention our firm does about 50% commercial and 50% residential. And the client of the Vastu House is actually a longtime client. He's a commercial real estate developer, and he came to us early in 2019 and said, "I'm ready for my Dick Clark house." So Kevin and I, this was our first project together. It was our first collaboration. Got to meet him and lovely family. And it, you know, it's a really great process, and coming in with the advantage of, you know, working together, at least with our firm for 10 years, I think put us in a great position of trust. All right, so just to give you a sense of where the house is, it's about 15 to 20 minutes outside the center. You can see we're in Westlake, just on the other side of 360. It's about 5 minutes south of the Pennybacker Bridge. This is a close-up of the neighborhood. It's pretty close to the lake. Unlike our other Westlake projects, this project is relatively flat. It's very leafy. The house is located on Bridge Hill Cove, a little cul-de-sac that's really sweet. They know all their neighbors. There's a shared tennis court, so it's a pretty unique property.
There's only about 7
Only
neighbors
7
on
houses.
the entire street.
So these are some images from our first site walk.
The client grew up in this house, actually, and in the beginning, the decision to be made was whether he was open to the idea of renovating the house, but it always from the beginning, he had stated to us that he wanted a, quote, Dick Clark house. There's a lot of things that go into what might be described as a Dick Clark house. It's kind of an enigmatic term, but it is a definite, there is a definite, and only people that have worked for us in the past or work there now maybe understand exactly what it means. At any rate, we felt from the very beginning, I think the very first site walk that Clara and I had, that we just felt that it was just going to be too much of a stretch and budget as well to try to make the existing house into what the clients were wanting to have.
Yeah, the program was a little too ambitious for what this house could give.
And not a particularly well-built house either, so, you know.
But we did compromise. We decided to keep the slab.
Started off with the slab, the existing slab,
Here's some
and
pictures.
added on to it.
And when you come out to the house, you'll notice just at the edge of the courtyard, so where the living room transitions to the courtyard, that's the edge of the existing slab.
We probably doubled, not quite doubled the ground floor.
Nearly.
But we reused every bit of the existing slab, but we reoriented certain spaces within the house.
We wanted to share just a hand sketch, which is what we like to show in the schematic design phase. This sketch came about after several rounds of programming talks, getting the adjacencies correct. We worked with a consultant on the West Coast for the Vastu principles. So all of those meetings and discussions have taken place, and when we arrived at this drawing. So it's very precise drawing, but we find as part of our process that it's important to show something still as a hand sketch, because at this point, you know, it's still, anything is really up for grabs.
This is probably the last hand sketch that we made before we went into computer as opposed to hand sketches. So it's very much to scale, and it appears to be very accurate to what is actually constructed now. Maybe not, the pool has changed because a pool house in Cabana got added during the COVID, during the pandemic lockdown. There were certain changes, but the sketch does look real accurate to what's here now.
Okay. So what is Vastu? Why are we calling this the Vastu House? Vastu is ancient building science promoting positive energy and well-being in the home. So there are several principles of Vastu. We are going to focus on 3 today. And like I said, we worked with a consultant, which was very beneficial and really served us in the project in terms of being a little bit more flexible and pragmatic about which principles are the most important. So
it was great. Having
Yeah.
a consultant, he was very collaborative, and he wasn't trying to shoot down that. He was trying to help us, and he helped us understand the principles. And once we understood the principles, I think we really turned it to our advantage. It really helped us through the design process.
And we really love challenges like this. You know, every custom house comes with a set of challenges. And for us, I mean, we really embraced it. And I think that, you know, a lot of interesting things came from it. Okay, so the principles we're going to talk about today are orientation, the courtyard of meditation, and the massing. Okay, orientation was very important in laying out the house. Like I said, we had salvaged the foundation. So you can see here, the house is just off a north-south axis. So that was fortunate. One of the most important sort of directions were that the entry is from the east side, that captures energy, as well as the morning spaces, the kitchen and dining room. One of the requirements was that on the northeast side, there was a meditation room, and that all of the beds pointed towards the south or west. And that's not your feet, that's your head.
The courtyard scheme it was a real interesting element that came programmatically from the client. It makes for a very interesting plan, and you'll see that it's works well for natural light throughout the house as well.
Okay, so this is the front entry port, and I guess it worked out pretty well having the door face the east. We were able to utilize this porch space. And when you come out to the house, you'll see that directly across from the door, there's no wall. So on the left slide, you're looking out the front door and there's a hanging swing, but we removed literally all physical obstruction from the energy coming into the home.
Interesting side story is that the client's son, who's in middle school, the school had a program they wanted to place the student in an actual working
Apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship, internship, apprenticeship, and he worked for us for, I don't know, several weeks, and he is the one who designed this front door that you see. He came up, when he was there, we taught him how to use the Vectorworks drawing program on the computer, and he picked it up really quick and embraced it. And he came up with 2 or 3 different schemes for the front door, and we channeled which ideas we thought were best, and we helped him detail the door. So he
Look at the shop drawing.
He really participated in the entire design process. He was present for every meeting with his parents,
and he did a lot of the selections on the interiors as well. So it was great for him, I think. Well, it was great for all of us.
You're going to see his bedroom in a minute. It's fun. The whole house family likes to have fun.
Okay, so the second principle we're going to discuss is the courtyard and meditation. So those were 2 programmatic requirements that Kevin mentioned earlier that really are probably the most, I guess the courtyard probably has the most significance in the scheme. If you didn't know anything about Vastu, you might call it the courtyard house. So this red line represents the energy that's coming in through the front doors through the east. There's a procession that goes around the courtyard and then ends up and is held in the meditation room. And here are these 2 rooms. Here's an image standing from the den looking into the courtyard. It ended up being such a beautiful space that brings natural light deeper into the house. It's a real focal point for outdoor living, and you know, it's kind of one of our trademark moves is to blend this indoor-outdoor living. So I think
this is a room that gets used a lot. I was just talking to the client's son this morning. He said they sit out here for hours sometimes, and especially now if the weather's getting good. This room, outdoor room, gets a lot of use.
Okay, and here's the meditation room. The client sourced these doors. They're exceptional. So we're looking into this final room in the first session. And I'm standing in the dining room looking over the outdoor dining room into the meditation room. One of the more interesting things I feel about this project, I mean, we do a lot of meditation rooms and yoga rooms, and they're often kind of tucked away and out of sight, but this is such a, prayer and meditation are so central to their lifestyle that the room is transparent from almost all the rooms in the lower level. So it's just something that's really integrated with their daily lives. Okay, the last principle we want to talk about is the massing. So Vastu requires that the weight of the house is on the southwest corner, which is essentially just the two-story version section.
So this aspect of the Vastu principle is probably our biggest challenge and the last hurdle that we really had to overcome because the existing garage slab, which we wanted to reuse, was on the southwest corner. And, struggling with getting the massing on that side, for a while we were trying to figure out how to put a second floor above the garage, and it just was not working for us programmatically to make up and create a space. It was just too much space. And so finally, I know Clara and I went back and forth on it several times, but we decided, let's just bite the bullet, let's knock down the garage and pull it away from the house. And once we did that, it really opened up some interesting things. You can see from this drawing right here that the massing of the house is a series of gable roofs mixed with flat parapet roofs. We use the flat parapets to resolve a lot of the gable roofs. Can get real tricky to make them terminate and clean in a clean kind of way. And we use the flat roofs and the parapets to help us do that. But one of the things that happened when we removed that garage from the house is that now the southwest corner of the house is the master suite upstairs. And you can see from this image of the tall gables, we discovered some space within the house that we didn't anticipate from the beginning. This is we call it the flex room. There's a pool table and a upstairs lounge.
And that was a bonus space. We hadn't really thought about it until we were out here in CA, and because we were doing 12 on 12, all of a sudden it seemed like there was too much space for just mechanical or attic.
Wasn't in the original program, but it's a welcome addition.
So you'll see when you come out, there's two loft spaces utilized. So you want to go back.
The other thing that happened when you can see when we pulled that garage away, the original driveway went right up to the front of the house, which was not great. By pulling it away, now there's a green space between the house and the garage. And
then we were also, you see on the right slide, able to kind of create a Zen courtyard, and the window you see on the right is from the laundry room. So now that has natural light. And I think this little portal experience works really well with the family. They keep shoes and bags and things so that, there's a little bit of a transition zone as you get home.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vastu is a big design consideration, but the other ones we wanted to talk about today were this concept of a multi-generational household. The client's son and mother live in one home, which was wonderful. They are entertainers and really host community, so that was another thing we were considering. And then we just wanted to talk through the integrated interior design.
These clients, by the way, were so fantastic. It was probably one of the most pleasant design experiences that I've had in all my years with the firm. They were very communicative from the beginning. They had a vision about what they wanted to. They needed ideas though, and they helped us. They really helped us dig deep and bring out some nice ideas for this project. They're just
And we had a good time.
Yeah, they like to have fun. They're interesting. They're just morals, polite, everything you could possibly want in a client.
Agreed.
Great experience.
Okay, so you want to talk to your client's mom?
Yeah, this is this sketch diagrams that the mother of our client is she's a very vibrant, active. She is the matriarch of the family. She's very involved in the local Hindu community. She has, they hold, as Clara mentioned earlier, they hold a lot of functions and activities here at the house. The client told us from the very beginning that the living room, that's my mother's room. She owns that room.
That's for her friend.
That's for her friends and activities, and the den is more the, that's the quieter family space. The living room is a little bit more of a gregarious kind of space. But we wanted to create, she has her own small house within the larger house. And the way we did this was, you can see that she has, it's like a stone cottage that's within the larger house that's inserted within that. And so
we wanted to honor her and kind of give her a little bit of separation and privacy.
And we wanted her to have her own individual space. So you can see that the stone comes all the way, it wraps around the entire room / house.
Here you can see it's the backdrop of the courtyard, but you know, it's a very private space, but still very important on this axis.
And the photo on the right, the entry to her house, the stone cottage on the right, the son's bedroom is to the left. So that they're very close, and that's intentional. They wanted that situation within the design.
Typically not how we would zone it. So that was we love that. Okay, so this diagram is just showing, try to explain how many people are usually in the house. Every time I've come over, I don't know, 7 times in the last year, there's been groups doing meditation or yoga or at the dining room table or making breakfast. I'm always invited in. This
sketch is very indicative and very descriptive of what goes on in the house. I think every square inch of this house gets used. There's no wasted space in this house.
No, so there's just a big variety of hangout spaces and public spaces. This is looking over the pool. You can see the pool deck. You have amazing outdoor kitchen, dining room. There's a courtyard, of course. This is the den that Kevin had mentioned. So this is more for hanging out, TV, games. When you come to the house, as you walk in this room, take a left and you're going to see a surprise behind the hidden
This is
shelf.
a cozier space than the living room itself.
More casual. This is the kitchen. This was, gosh, a design exercise in itself. I think we had 4 to 5 meetings to kind of dial this in. This family loves to cook and entertain. There's a lot of spices. There's a lot of people. There are a lot of ingredients. We must have done how many configurations of this?
There were at least 3 or 4 different, completely different kitchen design configurations. This photograph looks deceptively simple because there's a lot of work that went into trying to get it to look minimalist like this.
That's right. So we just wanted to give you kind of a peek behind the full height millwork. So, you know, one way we achieve this very calm kitchen is we can put appliances that are used every day behind these garage doors. So in the morning, everything is open and functioning. I mean, it almost functions like a commercial kitchen. There's an incredible hood. Everything is very orchestrated.
It really, really is. All the workspaces are behind retractable doors. So once the doors are closed, it looks like there's not that much going on, but believe me, when those doors are open, there's a lot of workspace behind them.
This is a fantastic piece that came from the client's existing home. And one of the challenges the interiors department had, I mean, one of the nice things about working in-house with interior designers is we bring them on very early. You know, they get to know the clients and the style they like. They're able to gauge the reaction at the exterior material meeting. So they're really on board and understand the clients early. So it's a seamless process transitioning. This is just kind of showing an example of one of the challenges they had with meshing these older, you know, culturally significant objects with new design and new contemporary
The
pieces.
decor is very eclectic throughout the house. You can see that. And I think our interiors team did a great job of making all of the objects work together. This is a very holistic design.
And the clients
interior
were
and
very
exterior.
heavy-handed in picking. You know, they did a trip to India and sourced a lot of pieces and worked, you know, daily with our interiors crew, kind of dialing things in.
But they consulted us about everything before, you know, that they wanted to make sure that all the objects that they liked, they want to make sure that we felt that it worked within the context of the design and within the interiors of the house. And I think it's a really fun, interesting,
Layered.
because the house itself is in some ways is a backdrop to a lot of these more traditional ornamental type objects. Even though the design of the house itself is very clean and modern.
This is just a float. So you see in the right image, we have you know, contemporary table and chairs and pendant kind of paired with an antique rug, and then just zooming in on the pendants.
You see, this is the type of thing that shows something of the personality of our clients, who they just
There's a lot of fun elements.
happy and fun.
And this is the son's room. So just up this ladder is the second loft space that was a late add. So
That's another example of the space that's available in those tall gables. We had to make the design of the mechanical system work. That a lot of work went into that, coordination and structural elements, but we had some spaces left over that.
and I think it was his idea, and it was his idea to put this big walkable net above the whole room. So
Which supports a human body. You can jump on that net
more
there.
than one, I think. Here are just a few interiors. The son had helped with the selections of his bathroom on the right, so you'll be able to see both of these. And then finally,
That's it.
I think that's it. This is the house. We can't wait to see you out there. We really, you know, I thanked Coral before, but they were absolutely instrumental. We had such a good, positive experience working with the client and contractor during the whole process. We went the groundbreaking, and 2 months later, COVID started. So this was just one of those projects where no one really knew what was going on, but everyone was working so hard, diligently, organized. We kind of shifted gears every day, and yeah, I think all of us are very proud of this project.
Absolutely, and I can't speak highly enough of the contractors, Don Crowell's. Just the execution of the construction of every down to the smallest detail. I think when you walk through the house, it's gonna be very obvious that it's a just flawlessly constructed
Well, crafted
project.
work. So please come October 22nd, 23rd. We'll be out here all day.
Thank y'all both so much. That is such a beautiful, fascinating house. I have some questions rolling in. Are you guys ready for a little Q&A?
We're ready.
First of all, I'm seeing a lot of themes in some of these early questions. They're about materiality. So I think this is probably a multi-parter. I'm going to kind of put them together. They're mostly about materials. First of all, were there any restrictions on materials that you could use because of Vastu?
No,
No,
no.
we tried to use as many natural materials as possible.
Was that part of the charge, or was it something that just seemed to align with Vastu principles?
I think it was all consistent with the Vastu principles, but as far as the materials and finishes, that really came from the client's artistic tastes and desires.
Yeah, they came with a pretty strong vision of what kind of things they were looking for as well. So we followed their lead.
Vastu was mostly massing directions of things, like the bedrooms, the beds have to face in a certain direction.
It's an organizing principle.
It organizes the circulation and the massing, but the materials, there were no.
It was a more like solid versus like window. That was important in the Vastu. But when it came down to the material selection, no. But one interesting thing is this is the first time we've used chop face bevel stone on this project. So it's named, the bevel stone is named after a house that we worked on, gosh, 5 years ago. And that was the first time it was ever used out of the quarry. So it's been, and it has, when it's sawn face, you can see the fossils, but we decided to keep it chop face. And what we liked about it, it was a kind of a mixture of grays and browns. The client said, "I'm so sick of seeing gray stone houses everywhere." And we said, "Yes, we agree." So this was a kind of a hybrid of both. So whenever you come out to the house, look closely at the stone. There's a good mix of colors in it.
Not to get too technical, but the stone there's a sawn horizontal joint throughout the house. But the face of the stone itself is natural.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm definitely going to lean in when I go visit this house.
It's beautiful and it's very organic feeling, and the house is a very warm. It's a mixture of wood, plaster, and stone, and there's an incredible amount of warmth to the interior of the house.
Yeah, we have a wood soffit that wraps the whole, comes in on the porch into the entry, and then wraps the soffit around the entire courtyard and then into the meditation room. So we tried to, I guess in a way, use those materials to enhance some of those diagrams of that path of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the wood soffits are lovely too. Ashton is asking, were there any materials from the previous home that were used in the new home's construction? And I think I remember you mentioning the slab, but that was probably about all.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, although you can see in this image all the rocks that are retaining the upper part. Those were all found out in the yard. So it was really just process of uncovering. But yeah, to answer your question, just the slab.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which made it a little bit, I mean, that guided quite a few of the decisions as well. I mean, I'm looking at that image, thinking of how the kitchen pops out right where my cursor is. There were some decisions that we made because of the geometry that the slab had.
Oh, for sure. The interesting thing about it was originally the kitchen was on the opposite side of the house where it is now. So we kind of flipped that around. That was one of the Vastu principles that we had to resolve.
It actually dictated the location of the kitchen, that it had to be on the other side of the house.
Yes.
It wanted to be on the east side, so that with the entry and the kitchen, you're getting that morning energy, that morning light coming through. And
one other thing about the Vastu is it wasn't like everything has to be this way, but there was it would be best if it were. So we tried to make as many of those things.
Some of them had to be.
Yeah.
But not all.
Well, it sounds like y'all turned a lot of, I guess, rules into real opportunities. You can see it all.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
no doubt about
really
it.
felt that way.
Yeah. What was the extent of lighting design and considerations for daylighting Also, there's a question about Kelvin matching. I know y'all are very involved in that. Could you speak to some of the lighting strategies?
Sure. Probably the biggest one is just the void, the courtyard void. So when you have a courtyard scheme, all the rooms on the perimeter are only really one room deep. So it's a huge advantage because at any of the rooms flanking the courtyard are getting natural light from both sides. So really, it's funny because we had this conversation several times with the client. He was, because of the old house was so dark that was such a concern, and we did so many models of, is there going to be enough light in do we need to do skylights in the living room? And we were saying, trust us.
That came up at every meeting, natural light. Even, the original house was, part of the problem was the openings were dark, but it was also that the site wasn't being fully utilized either. That the site in the backyard especially was overgrown with just, not great plants and
Vines all over the
and
trees or
cedar trees. And so we really, it was great to have a landscape architect to come in and just clean up the exterior. And that opened up a lot of the light too. But, there's a lot of, like we're sitting in here right now, there's a couple of lights on in the house, but mostly there's hardly any lights on in the house right now. You can see that it's bright in here. There's plenty of natural light.
So we really just minimize the downlighting in the ceiling. 3,000 to answer your question.
3,000 all the way.
Yes, but we try to just, Kevin and I always try to minimize the downlights, but we try to have those in case there's a cleaning crew or you're packing, but otherwise we really like to use the daylight and task lighting.
So you're lighting surfaces instead of the tops of people's heads.
Correct.
Yeah, there's a variety of interior space. Some of the spaces are vaulted, so they have one type of lighting, and some of the spaces have flat ceilings, so there's a good mix. But we did try to just downplay it and keep it as minimal as possible.
And that was a big discussion. When you have a big pitched ceiling, and we did 6 on 12 or 8 on 12s on the inside, the question was, do you light across it? Do you try to have downlights that are directional and can, hit the floor flat? And we ultimately decided, and you guys check it out when you come, just to put a track all the way down the top of the ridge, and that has spotlights that can be adjusted. So we just wanted to kind of match that line and not really compete with the geometry or pull anything off the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Well, while you have this slide pulled up, this lovely image, and we were talking about daylighting, I would love to hear about, the court. This is such a courtyard-based home, but we know that you've taken a lot of site considerations for the surrounding site, and you can see a lot of that happening here. Would y'all speak a little bit to that?
Sure. Yeah. So, like Kevin said, when we came in, it was hard to even tell how big the site was. It was so overgrown, and you can really see the line on this image where the outdoor kitchen was. From that outdoor room back was almost completely solid, with not great trees and bushes, and so really we thought the challenge for us, and then there's beautiful oak trees you can see, and they were covered in ivy and really overgrown. So our approach was just to kind of clear as much as possible and edit and really allow that to highlight the trees that were beautiful. Trees are there. And then there's a series of big terrace lawns out on that as you approach the house on the right side, and then behind the house there's 3 big levels of lawn, which
and the approach on the landscaping was like the house was not to be heavy-handed, to just keep it really basic and simple and straightforward, and just use nice elements and materials, and it doesn't have to be difficult. We kept it as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm. And there's still a significant amount of screening along Bunny Run, just out of the view, and in the back. So you'll see when you come out to the house, it feels, for being as centrally located as it feels very quiet and very removed. And insulated.
And
So
it does feel very integrated with the site too. That's one of the really pleasing things about it. Whether you're inside the house or outside, it feels very, very natural and integrated with the site.
Mhm. Yeah, and I've noticed too where you are framing views really effectively. One of my favorites is from the kitchen sink and that kind of work area, the view that's framed out. It feels so intentional.
oh, behind
That was, you're right. It was very intentional. You know, when you have the courtyard scheme, it's a different dynamic, and we did consider many times when whatever room you're in, what you're seeing when you look across that courtyard. That was a big part of the design.
But it's nice that we moved the kitchen. I mean, we needed to, but it's nice that we moved the kitchen to this side of the house, because this is the side with the big side yard and the pool house. So that room really is a natural connector between inside and outside. And that's a nice place to sit and kind of see or work and see all the activity below.
Yeah.
And that was one of the nice things about that we didn't have to worry about, leaving the existing house. It just opened it. It had a lot more freedom in the design, because it really feels like a brand new house. But also we had a budget. We have to work for a budget, and we gave the budget a lot of attention on this project, believe me.
Yeah, I bet. You mentioned the client has experience in commercial development, so I'm sure there are spreadsheets. I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
I can just
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, he kept it very, very close. That's the other thing too, is that clients, not all clients, keep a real close eye on what's going on when the money starts rolling through there. But he really did, and that avoided a lot of tension and pressure. That's one of the dynamics of residential design, is always the budget. So, but
He was on it.
He was on it. It never became an issue, and it just made the whole process a much more pleasant process.
Yeah.
If anything, the challenge was just the time, because in commercial architecture, it just moves faster and decisions are made, and it's like, hurry, let's get this meeting in. And I think the pace was faster than we were expecting.
Well, he made himself available. Sometimes clients are busy too, and they're not always available when you need them and want them to be, but these clients were. So
They took it very seriously.
oh yeah, it was like their number one override. As busy as their lives are, and believe me, I could write a book about all the things that they do, that they have going on in their personal lives, but they made this their first priority, and it was so helpful to us.
That's great to have that level of engagement and participation and really clear expectations. It must have been a really good.
I think that's why it was successful, because the expectations were and the requirements were so clear, and there were so many of them. But that's okay. That's our job to figure out.
The clients are a huge part of the success of this project. They can't be underestimated.
It is great that you can really see them in so many different aspects of the design and the way that they live. More so, I think, than a lot of homes that are custom homes. I think you can really feel how people are living in this house.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and they so clearly communicated that to us.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding coming over and seeing all the spaces, that we thought so hard about, and we were so thoughtful about, and they're being used. I'm sitting in the office working now. People are out by the pool. It's really
I'm loving it over here. This is
great.
I have a question from Josh Bowles. Congratulations. This house is a monumental achievement of creativity, thoughtfulness, and the centrality of family. Nice, Josh. Do you plan to incorporate Vastu principles in future projects? Which is an interesting question, right? I mean, probably not under the name of Vastu, but I'm sure there are takeaways and things that even you surprised yourself with how successful they were.
Honestly, personally, I hadn't really thought about it. I think it's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. We would that was a given on this project from the beginning, so we never really thought about it much beyond that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that that any of the principles would be directly applied. I think that the bigger ideas behind Vastu, you know, getting natural light deeper into the space, having a moment's pause before you enter the home. I mean, those are all things that we'll definitely take going forward.
Yeah, a lot of these things we do anyway, you know, no matter what design, you know, things like natural light and openness in the plan, indoor, outdoor kind of occurrences. But I think as far as the Vastu itself, that would have to come from a client, because I think it's something, I know on this project, our client, it was something that he already understood, and you know, it was something that was part of their daily life and their daily activities. So it was something that he, you know, we just knew that from the beginning, and we dealt with that.
Yeah, it's funny, Clara, you mentioned like the sort of moment of rest before you go in the front door. That, I feel like that's such a great combination of the firm and the kinds of work that you do, as well as a Vastu principle, this non-linear front approach where you approach a wall, turn.
That's so true, because the entry to this house, you don't see the front door. When you drive up, you don't see the front door. It's around the corner.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think there's any doubt anyone would have where the entry is.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yes, people will see that when they arrive to the house, but there's no doubt where the main entry to the house is,
Mm-hmm.
even though you don't see the door.
Right. Yes, it's articulated, and there's a specific geometry that I think says entry.
Yeah.
But I think we take things from every project and don't directly apply it to the next, but I hadn't really thought about it, but the way that their lifestyle here just kind of collides a little bit. You know, there's, by the primary bedroom, you saw the image of the pool table with the flex room above. That's right next to their primary suite. And that would not be how we would typically approach the zoning of a house. That would be something that's more private. And they really just kind of challenged that idea for us. And I think one that we're working on together now, we've kind of said, you know, it doesn't have to be completely separate, or some of these programs, it helps us challenge the next client that it doesn't have to be just like this. We just did this and it's working out great. So.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. There were several things on this house that in the beginning we go, well, you don't want your guests to be right next door to you. You know, that you want your private. They're like, no, we want them right there. That's where when we have guests over here, we want them.
We want to see them.
We want to see people. That's where we want.
Yeah.
So that was something that really, maybe that's a principle.
And that kind of, well, I'm thinking of the Laguna Vista one on the second floor. You know, we're like, why? Of course, all these programs can be together. Why not?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a lesson learned, to just kind of shake up our idea of what needs to happen, and we definitely take those kind of things to the next project.
See, that's so interesting.
So fun. That was one of the fun things about this project, was to design something that was different than anything we've done before. And
like you said, shake it up a little bit. It's not. It can feel almost formulaic at some points.
Yes.
We have these sort of processes that we move through, and something like Vastu seems to have given you a chance to shake it a bit and see where things land.
That's right.
Clara, I know you've mentioned the orientation of the beds within the bedrooms was not, you know, where it would have gone, but because there were Vastu rules about the orientation, you had to respond to that.
Yeah, and I remember when we were laying them out, you know, you kind of had to do with one extra turn. It wouldn't be exactly where we would put the bed wall, but you know, it's just another piece of the puzzle. Yeah. Just extend the wall and do one more turn and we're in. So
the good thing was it didn't have to, there were a choice that there were two different walls. It wasn't just, it has to be on this one wall. So that helped.
But whenever people come out, please, take a look or you know, see how it feels walking into a bedroom and see if you can perceive that there are rules to where it could be. I thought when we were laying it out, I thought, oh, I don't want this to be forced, and it doesn't feel that way to me at
I
all.
don't think anyone would come in this house and walk in and go, oh, wait, there's some kind of system going. I don't think so.
Right.
It was very natural. It feels
Yeah.
very
It's built in. It's sort of baked in.
definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
baked in.
Alexandra Chavez is curious about the landscape architect who y'all worked with on this project.
Initially, we were working with West Shop, and then at the end of the design was executed and kind of pivoted with Pearson.
So there were two different, but it I think altogether between the two of them, they worked it all out. I'm very happy with the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Pearson design. Everyone's going to fall in love with it when they come out. It was really thoughtful and restrained, and I can't wait to do more work with them. So
That's great. We have a question from Sunil John. Have y'all done any projects in the Bryan College Station area?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Not yet.
But we're willing to go wherever their path leads.
Sunil, it sounds like they're ready for one. So if you have any other questions, we do have a couple of minutes, so don't feel like we don't have time to get to them. But I wanted to ask a question that I feel like could be sensitive, but tell me about the pandemic and how it impacted the construction and the design. I mean, there was timeline overlap there for sure, right?
Yeah, because it did.
Yeah, it was. We were finished with the drawings and starting on site when everything started happening. So, it was. I think there were obviously some supply chain issues, and Kroll did a great job at just figuring it out week to week. So felt really confident working with them, just on getting the house built. Programmatically, there was an ask for an office cabana. I mean, and that was a theme that we've seen across the whole firm. And I think other architects are seeing the same trends that, instead of a one kind of flexible office in a house, we're having two dedicated, or at least one dedicated. But the pool house, which I don't think we have any images of, but when you come out to see, that was a late permitted building, and it's a big studio space and bathroom and closet. So
And home office. It became the home office.
which they
Yeah.
use all the time. So I think that's a bit of a common story, but that happened in real time.
That happened. We had to permit it after the house itself had been permitted, so that it was a little tricky.
Yeah, I've heard that thread of now we have to deal with home offices as a very real component of a home,
Yes.
affecting design sometimes halfway through. I've heard that come up in other webinars.
Yeah. But it really seems to work well. I mean, it's a great pool bathroom. They can have overlap, friends stay out there. And last time I was here, someone was rolling a suitcase out of the cabana. So they're definitely using it.
It reoriented the pool once we had that cabana became a programmatic element. We rotated the pool. I think it's a much nicer indoor, the path from the house to the pool is very nice, and it presented further landscaping opportunities. That's something I'm very happy with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just because it's right behind you, but I love this kitchen very much, particularly because I know how much it's used and how many people are probably in there at any given point in time. And Clara, we talked about like countertop equipment, the cookers and the not beautiful built-in components that happen when you're really an at-home chef cooking all the time for your family and friends. How did you deal with that? Because it looks beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, that was It was well choreographed. I think we had several meetings. You know, a lot of this, and we showed a slide that had the retractable appliance garage, and we're putting those into more, you know, a lot of projects now because it allows the blender and rice cooker and smoothie, you know, all the toaster, all the things that would be on the counter that you really need every single day to be on a counter plugged in. But when you're done with those, you can just kind of tidy it away, close those doors. And there's an extensive butler's pantry behind the kitchen. So there's a lot of, I mean, an incredible, I don't know if you'll be able to look at the home store, but just an incredible amount of dry goods being stored. I think they're milling their own flour and things like that. So it's things are happening.
Unbelievable working kitchen.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned earlier, we went through several iterations of that, rotating the island, moving the island around, looking at the butler's pantry, all these things.
So shout out to Brandy. Thank you. She really dialed it in for us.
Our interior design did a great job with this project.
Yeah. I love that there were so many versions of that kitchen that y'all worked through.
I know.
Intensive.
It was, you know, we didn't even know we were going to do interiors when we started this process, because it was just kind of like, well, let's do the architecture and we'll just do something simple. And then I think as the relationship grew, I mean, I know that we'll bring, we did the full scope of interiors and selections, and they were very hands-on during that. But, you know, there are decisions being made today about certain objects and styling that we're still involved with. So to us, we feel like that's the ultimate task or compliment when a client is asking us our help for cutlery and napkins and plates by the end of the project. We're like, we've really earned their trust.
I mean, they were very collaborative. I mean, they had a lot of ideas about things that they wanted to see, but they always wanted our feedback and opinion on that. They you know, they were in no way were they dictatorial on anything that it was. This whole project was so collaborative, and I think that's something that people really will see in the project when they come here.
Yeah. Well, I cannot wait to see it. Not this weekend, but next weekend, like Ingrid said.
We are so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Clara and Kevin, thank you both so much for taking the time. Thanks to the homeowners and everybody that was involved in the process. Ingrid, I mean, I could keep them here all day asking questions, but I know we're coming up on our hour.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you so
looking forward
much.
to it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. See you at the tour.
See you.
See you there.
Bye.